Hey, do you need some help setting goals and figuring out a plan to make this year your best year yet? Listen, I've got you. Go to ChristyWright.com/goals to download my free goal setting guide. I'm going to ask you a few simple but powerful questions that are going to help you know what's going on right now so you can set goals that are right now. Go to ChristyWright.com/goals to get your free goal setting guide today. That's ChristyWright.com/goals today. Hey everyone, and welcome to Get Your Hopes Up. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so glad you're here. Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him so that you may overflow with hope by power of the Holy Spirit." Our God is the God of hope, and he wants you to overflow with hope. So let's start our week by getting our hopes up again. Now today, we are talking about what to do in those scenarios when you feel painted in a corner. You know those situations, right, where you've run all the options and every option is a bad option and it seems like there's no way out. What do? Well, we're going to talk about that today, and I want to give you one powerful question that is going to give you peace and perspective in those situations. Now, I want to start with an example. So I need to confess to you all, I panic when I need to make a return. I know y'all think of me as this super confident, go-getter, can handle anything kind of person, but I gotta tell you, when it comes time to ask for a refund or cancel something, I freak out. I totally freak out. And this is not because I'm nervous to do it, y'all. Y'all know I'm an Enneagram 8. I don't care. I'm not scared of conflict. That's not it. See, I panic because I get so nervous that I'm not going to be able to get the refund, and then I've wasted money. I gotta tell you, I hate wasting money. I hate wasting money. Now, I'm not cheap at all. In fact, I love to spend money. I love to be generous. I love to leave big tips, but that's not wasting money, y'all. It's enjoying it and sharing it. I hate wasting it. I hate making mistakes with my money where I buy something and I got the wrong thing, or I got the wrong size, or more likely, I don't know, I just changed my mind. And then I get so nervous because I am positive there's some fine print somewhere about no return policy that I've missed. Or if they take returns, for sure I have lost the receipt, so I'm not going to get a refund. Or if I happen to have the receipt by some miracle, I have for sure driven around with this thing in my car so long that now I've missed the return window and I'm not going to get a refund. Anyway, this whole combination of all these hypothetical scenarios causes me to be a nervous wreck. I may or may not have a problem, whatever. When I need to make a return, and I am just sure it's going to be difficult or even impossible, I always wonder two things. Number one, what are they going to do? And number two, what am I going to do? These are the two questions that I stew and stress over. What are they going to do? Are they going to keep my money? Are they going to tell me I can't send it back? Are they going to tell me it's too late? I didn't read the fine print. I didn't keep the right packaging or send it back in the right time frame. Are they going to charge me a fee for canceling that appointment? What are they going to do? And then I also think, what am I going to do? What if I've just wasted this money? What if I can't get it back? And what am I going to do with this new, small, trendy kitchen appliance that I absolutely do not need or want and will not use? And I just bought it because I got sucked into Instagram ads at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. What am I going to do with this thing? Deep breath. As ridiculous and also relatable as this example is, we often default to this when we are stressed or in a situation that we feel trapped in. See, when we feel painted in a corner and we don't see a way out, or we worry about the outcomes and stress about the possibilities, we usually camp out on these two questions. Number one, what are they going to do? And number two, what am I going to do? What are they going to do? We think that, don't we? What are they going to do? When I left Ramsey, I worried this question over and over and over in my mind, viscerally, frantically, and daily. What are they going to do? Thankfully, Ramsey was nothing but kind and generous and supportive of me, but I didn't know that when I was in the process of leaving. I didn't know that when I was scared out of my mind. I just kept thinking, what are they going to do? Have you ever thought that? Your mind races with the worst case scenarios and you're stressing yourself out about every one of them happening. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? What is going to happen? How are they going to handle this? What are they going to do? But then we also think about the second question. We worry about the second question as well. What am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? How am I going to fix this one? There's no way out. How am I going to get out? There's no path forward. How am I going to keep going? How am I going to recover from this? This being the worst case scenarios, of course. What am I going to do? Have you ever thought that? You just lost your job and you think, what am I going to do? The building that your business is in, the lease is up, and then you think, what am I going to do? Your top team member just quit. What am I going to do? You just got divorced. What am I going to do? See, when we look at these two questions, what are they going to do, which are always worst case scenarios, and what am I going to do, which always feels hopeless, we are left feeling just that. Hopeless, scared, panicked. But I want to offer you a different question today, because I think that in those situations, we're asking the wrong questions. They're not bad questions. They're good questions, but they're not the best question. Because the truth is, we don't know what that other person or that group is going to do, and we can't control it anyway. And more often than not, we don't know what we're going to do in these situations because we don't have a solution, so that's not helpful. It just leaves us feeling stuck. I want to give you a better question to ask. Instead of asking yourself, what are they going to do? Or what am I going to do? Pause. And then with complete curiosity, think to yourself, I wonder what God is going to do. What is God going to do? He's a part of this equation too, you know. Oswald Chambers said, worrying is calculating without God. But y'all, God is always a part of the picture. So instead of focusing on the other person or people who you can't control anyway, or yourself when you don't have much to work with, look up. Put your focus on the one who can fix and solve anything. Think about David and Goliath. You probably know the story, but let me just give you a quick refresher because this is a great example of this. I'm going to read you from 1 Samuel 17, starting at verse 4, and I'm going to skip around to get to the main parts here. Starting at verse 4. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out from the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs, he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and his iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? Are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' word, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Okay, so let's jump ahead a little bit. The Bible says that for 40 days, Goliath came forward every morning and every evening, taunting the Israelites. Now, in the middle of this, Jesse tells David, his youngest son, to take some food and go over to the camp and check on his brothers. Okay, so his job is to go check on his brothers. That's what he's there to do. In verse 20, let's pick up there. It says, early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking with them, Goliath stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. So jumping ahead, David asked the men around him what's going to happen to the person that kills Goliath. They tell him the plan, and then David says to Saul in verse 32, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go out and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against the Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. The uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defiled the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." And you know how this turns out. A small shepherd boy defeats the giant with only a few stones. Y'all, David wasn't focused on Goliath or even himself. He was focused on God. If David focused on Goliath, he would have been scared out of his mind and run the other direction. That giant was huge. No one had been able to defeat him yet. David, a small shepherd boy that didn't even have the right armor, and the armor he put on didn't even fit, he had absolutely nothing against this giant. So if David is focused on Goliath, he's going to be scared and run and absolutely not have a chance. If you're focused on the impossible situation, of course you're scared. Of course you're stressed and anxious. You're overwhelmed when you're focused on the other person or the other group of people. And then even with yourself, look at David. He wasn't focused on himself. He didn't focus on how strong he is or is not, the tools and weapons he had or didn't, the capabilities he had or didn't. He wasn't focused on himself at all. If he was, he would have been super discouraged because he had nothing to work with. Instead, he was focused on God. He wasn't focused on what Goliath was going to do or even what he was going to do. He was focused on what God was going to do. See, when you turn your attention away from the web of drama you get caught in and get above it and start wondering what God is up to, you make a really important shift in remembering that this is God's burden, not yours. It's his battle, not yours. It's his problem, not yours. Y'all, God knows. He is good, he is in control, and he can handle it. Your job is to pray, obey, and stay connected to him. So when you feel like the Israelites at the Red Sea or David in front of Goliath, resist the urge to worry about what they are going to do or even stress about what you can do, and instead wonder with childlike curiosity and think, I wonder what God is going to do. I want to end with another quote by Oswald Chambers that I love so much, and this is what he says. "Any problem that comes while I obey God, and there will be many, increases my overjoyed delight, because I know that my Father knows and cares, and I can watch and see how he will unravel this thing." All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for Get Your Hopes Up. I love hanging out with you every Monday to help you get to know God, get closer to him, and get your hopes up again. Be sure to share this episode on social media and tag me so other people can get their hopes up as well. And then be sure to follow the Christy Wright podcast channel so you never miss a new episode. And then I'll see you next Monday for another new episode of Get Your Hopes Up.